Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Pick a Side Instant Reaction. We are here after the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Last night we recapped the Packers, Niners, and the Texans, Ravens. Today we'll be talking about the Chiefs, Bills, and the Buccaneers and Lions. And fellas, before we start, how you guys doing?
Not as good as you, obviously. I'm doing good though. Had a good day.
I'm doing
I'm
great.
doing all right. A little bittersweet. Won 100% of my picks this weekend. That also came at the expense of being right about the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are cursed. There's just no other way around it. But I'm doing okay. I really can't complain too much. My guy Moran continues to show why he's top 10 in the league. It's again a little bittersweet, but 100% on the weekend. You can't be too mad about that.
I had a good day. Had some good dinner. Talked to my grandmas today. Watched some
What'd
good
you have for
football.
dinner?
I had salmon, chicken, string beans, and white rice. So I had a pretty.
Better
Pretty
question
good.
is, how's your grandma doing?
She's doing great. She's about to go to work right now.
Grinder.
Yeah. I watched some good football. Unfortunately, the Bills couldn't pull it out, but nonetheless, had a great day. So I'm feeling good. I'm sure Joel, he's cheesing. Nobody's had a better day than him today. But I'm just excited to talk some football, man.
How you doing,
Needed
John?
it after yesterday. I needed it after yesterday. I'm sure he's feeling so much better than last night.
I had a good Sunday. I was rooting for the Bills, though, so this was a heartbreaking loss. Part of course, though, because it's been a heartbreaking week.
Heartbreaking.
I'm surprised. I'm not gonna lie. The Bills lost, which means that I wasn't sure if he was gonna show up or not. The line was even if he was gonna show up, but he showed up. And Drew is 100% correct because this morning started with me having a dream that the Packers won yesterday. I woke up and I said, "How the fuck did they lose?" I was still not over that. I couldn't believe that they lost the game. They had it. I mean, the Brock Purdy awful game until the very end, the last drive. I mean, they had it. That was gonna cement my legacy. But I mean, this game, the Chiefs versus Bills, final score 27-24. Need I say the exact score I predicted to the T on the podcast the other day? I had the Chiefs winning 27-24. The Chiefs win the game. Patrick Mahomes, when we gonna stop doubting this man? 6 straight AFC championship appearances. Last year, I was told he wasn't going to be the same without Tyreek Hill. He won a Super Bowl. This year, with their offensive struggles, everybody was overblowing it like they were the New York Jets. I heard them being called frauds before this game. You giving your pick, Mr. Dehls. I think something
Sliding
about the
his own
Chiefs
team.
is a little overrated. You called the Chiefs overrated. I mean, not only was the offense great, Mahomes played well, Kelsey, Pacheco, Rasheed made some big time plays, McCole Hardman. Oh my God, I'm tired of seeing him on the field. And can you believe that even MVS had some good catches in this game? I mean, he
Guy
was doing
remembered
the
how to play
job.
football.
And then the defense in the fourth quarter, locking up like they did. Man, let's stop down the Chiefs. Let's stop 6 straight AFC championship appearances, and Mahomes just won his first road playoff game. Let's stop doubting the Chiefs, man. I'm tired of it.
Who wants to go? Because a
Yeah.
lot can be said.
Rev, I feel like Rev should give his piece first. This is his
Cool with
team.
that.
Well, first of all, I want McDermott fired. I do, bro.
So he's coming on.
That could be I could be in my feelings, but that fourth and go for it with DeMar Hamlin, that shit really lost me. It really put me in a puzzling state. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what happened. Luckily, McCole Hardman got on the field, so we got the ball back in the touchback. But my God, that shit put me in a frenzy. But to start from the beginning, the energy was there to start the first quarter. Both teams was driving up and down the field. Both teams were scoring at a quite different rate. I think the Bills were more methodical. A lot of short, breaking you down in small parts. While the Chiefs had a lot of big time plays. They had a lot of down the field plays, big time reception. So it was different ways, but both offenses I felt like through 3 quarters was cooking up each other's defenses. They both were playing great. Josh was using a mixture of his legs and his arm. Mahomes was using a little bit more of his arms. Pacheco was good. Cooks was good. Johnson, the backup, he was good. I felt like through the first 3 quarters, though, you can see kind of the Chiefs defense kind of starting to figure out the offense of the Bills, especially in the run game. Because you saw in the past game, Mahomes. Allen threw some balls. He threw some dots. Unfortunately, Sherfield couldn't get one in. A couple of Diggs couldn't get one in, but he threw some fucking bombs that could have led to some touchdowns. Just unfortunately, team couldn't get it in. That relied on their offense to kind of be more short and short routes and stuff like that because they couldn't get nothing down the field. And then in the fourth quarter, Joel, you talked about it a little bit. The Chiefs defense wasn't great in this game. Spag kind of was getting carved up through the first three quarters, but in the fourth quarter they clutched up. In the fourth quarter they got stops late. And people want to talk about the last drive where Allen missed Diggs on the under and Kincaid, but I didn't mind the play to Shakir because he was open. He just kind of left it short. And the field goal, Tyler missed the field goal. Tyler's a pretty good kicker, so you expect him to make that. Unfortunately, the wind was going crazy. There was nothing you can do. But for this Bills defense, I mean, they were getting carved up all game by MVS. Travis Kelce, they had backup linebackers out there who just couldn't cover him at all. He was able to exploit them all game. And this Bills defense did not show up today. And I think the Bills curse could be real, but now you got to look at this offense. You got to look at this defense. And, you got Kincaid, who's young, and he's really good as a rookie. You got Shakir. Joel, you mentioned it a little bit. You might have to move off Stephon Diggs. That might – he has not been good since about – I want to say week 10. I don't know if that's exactly.
He hasn't had a 100-yard game since October.
Yeah, it's been a
good game
long
against Miami, ironically.
That's not hard to do. But it's been a long time since Diggs has been Stephon Diggs. And in this game, you definitely expected him to show up. He did not show up, and unfortunately the Bills cannot do it. But I thought Josh, he played well for as much as you could have. He tried to put the team on his back. James Cook was good. Kincaid was good. This offensive line was working in the trenches. They had Terrence, Deion Dawkins. They were working in the trenches. Unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, the more talented defense got stops. And they ended up winning the game.
Mr. Delimart, would you like me to go?
Go for it, bro.
Bittersweet. Bittersweet is definitely the word. More bitter than sweet, most definitely. I would have happily been wrong about my pick. I was hoping that the Bills would pull it out. But I'll say this game was a lot more high-scoring than I anticipated. I want to give credit where credit is due. Kansas City moved the ball with relative ease on the Buffalo Bills. A big question of mine was always going to be their offense, and of course, it had nothing to do with Mahomes, but of course the surrounding pieces. They went out there and they executed at a high level. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire had some nice catches, some nice touches with the ball in the backfield, pretty efficient with the ball in his hands. You already mentioned MVS. Somehow he remembered how to catch a football again. He was pretty integral in this game. Kelce getting into the end zone twice. That was really where this game really started to turn on its head, where you're starting to get Mahomes and Kelce back in the swing of things. And Kelce only had 5 catches, but 2 of them were able to get into the end zone. Mahomes was near flawless in this game. You look on the opposite side, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen was also near flawless, but you look at that last drive. He had one that I don't put on him. The other that I think that let me not say think. I know he wishes he had back over the middle of the field in the end zone to Shakir, where he kind of just shorts it. That throw to Diggs was one of the most impressive incompletions I've ever seen. I'm not here to glorify an incompletion, but it felt, if you would have told me it was 85 yards in the air, shit, I would have believed you. It was a rifle right in the breadbasket to Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs, who has been just utterly disappointing for the Buffalo Bills in just so many consecutive weeks. It's unfortunate that when your number's called, when you are a supposed top 5 coming into the season, no doubt, but a top 10 wide receiver in a Stephon Diggs, your brother Trayvon Diggs is calling out Josh Allen. It seems as if, Josh Allen wasn't anyone until Stephon came to town. Josh did his job today. Josh was pretty damn great today in his own right. And Stephon having that opportunity to put them in a position to score much more rapidly than what they would have had. Of course, you understand that the game ended up with for the Bills, a missed field goal. But you got to make that grab. The great ones make a grab. And seeing him drop that beautiful, perfect pass was pretty tough to see. But you got to give credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills had their opportunities to win this game before the missed field goal. You have the play where McCole Hardman fumbles for the touchback. Then you go 3 plays and punt the ball right back to Kansas City. That can happen. You have the momentum back on your side. You got a gift after a pretty bad play call on 4th down going for it. I understand the logic. If I'm not mistaken, the Chiefs had 10 people on the field at that time, so they tried to take advantage of that mismatch. Obviously, it did not pan out for the Bills, but you had opportunities. You had opportunities that you could have taken control of this game. You simply couldn't get the stop on the other end, which has seemingly been the story of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. But there were stops on this side too, even late in that game. Right after you punt the ball, the defense forces the Chiefs to punt the ball also. So it's a tough loss if you're Buffalo. It's gotten to the point where you feel that this is just a cursed franchise. But Josh Allen proved one thing, that he is going to be able to hang with Mahomes. Unfortunately, he just can't seize the beast.
It's tough to call it a cursed franchise when the team they're going up against is Patrick Mahomes, so it feels like every year. It's tough for Buffalo because this felt like the year that they were going to get past Kansas City. I tweeted out right after the game, like, if it wasn't this year, what year is it going to be? Because this, to me, was pretty comfortably the worst Chiefs team in the Patrick Mahomes era. Defense was great, but the offense all season long was not up to par from what we've seen in previous years. The way Josh Allen was playing this year, he was putting up MVP-type numbers. How hot they get down the stretch. You win Week 18 in Miami to win the division, beat Pittsburgh in round 1. You have all of those momentum, and now you get a home game against the Kansas City Chiefs, who you haven't beaten the playoffs. It felt like everything was coming together for Buffalo to be able to pull this off, and they just weren't able to. And when you go and look at the stats, it backs up what I was feeling, which was it felt like Buffalo was in control of this game. It felt like Buffalo had a real chance to win this game. They ran 78 plays compared to the Chiefs' 47. Time of possession was way in favor of Buffalo. And Riv, you're right. You know, the Chiefs only ran 47 plays, but the average 7.7 yards per play to Buffalo is 4.7. Like you said, Buffalo is much more methodical going down the field, while Kansas City was able to get some of those big plays. And what we've seen in playoff games over these last few years, really throughout NFL history, but especially with this, offensive explosion we'd seen, was if you're able to get big plays on offense, if you're able to get quick touchdowns, it's a lot easier to win those games than having to sustain those long drives. I don't know what the future holds for Sean McDermott. I'd be pretty shocked if they moved off him. They did give him a contract extension, I want to say, either a year or two ago. And they were in this game, and this was not only the worst year of the Mahomes era, but it was also probably the best year of Josh Allen's era. That was also the other side, where this seemed like the best offensive line he'd had, definitely the best run game he had. James Cook broke out and had, top 5 scrimmage yards from all running backs this season. He was tremendous. But down the stretch, you guys talked about Stephon Diggs. That feels like the one area where I'm looking at going into this offseason. Is Stephon Diggs, who had been a superstar for us these last couple of years, has been a superstar for the first month or two of this season, failed to show up for the final, 8+ weeks of the year. He's able to be the Stephon Diggs we know, and maybe some of this on Joe Brady, but still, I feel like Joe Brady does well in other areas, that maybe getting Stephon Diggs more involved in this offense outside of just some screen passes. That's kind of the one area. Look at this Buffalo team saying we need some more threats on the perimeter, because Khalil Shakir down the stretch was their best wide receiver. And you could make the argument that maybe even someone like Dalton Kincaid, who was used sparingly, you'd probably still put Diggs there. But my point being, they need someone else out there. Because if Diggs isn't going to show up and be that true number one, now you're really screwed. Because Gabe Davis has not shown to be consistent at all. Of course, he missed these last couple of games. And Shakir is probably, maybe he could be a wide receiver too. But to me right now, he feels like a 3. So that's kind of the only area I'm looking at Buffalo in the offseason. There's areas to improve. This is a draft class full of wide receivers. So if Stephon Diggs isn't going to be back, that becomes a huge need. Even if he is back, I'd like to see them add another weapon.
Gabe Davis, count your fucking days, man. He's out of here.
Khalil Shakir clears.
He was hurt though, wasn't he? He didn't play.
He didn't play, but Shakir's better.
They can still use Gabe Davis. They could have used him.
They're not paying him, bro. He's gone. It's okay.
I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but this was almost like a exact carbon copy of the Packers last night. Josh Allen played a great game. He had, to me, one of his best performances through 3 quarters. But all day long, the Bills They played well. They won the time possession battle 33 minutes to 22. They outgained Kansas City. They're 7 of 14 on third down. They had 0 sacks in the day, and they had 0 turnovers on offense. The issue simply was Stephon Diggs is nowhere to be found in these high leverage playoff games. And we've seen this in moments past. And at the end of the game, Josh Allen has 2 turnover worthy plays in the fourth quarter where none of these weapons really stepping up to make a big time play. And Buffalo, over the years, has had a lot of really bad luck defensively. They come into this game missing 5 or 6 of their starters. And just like the Packers last night, when Josh Allen has to carry basically the entire passing game, you see those turnovers late. And then in those, windy conditions, you ask the kicker to kind of tie the game up. And I don't know. I felt when Tyler Bass went out there, he was missing that kick, just like Andres Carlson last night. I did not have a good feeling. And for it to be wide right, I mean, this Bills team has been one of the most unlucky in football. It's just like the Packers, where special teams, their defense falling apart, especially against the run, and their head coach always leaves a little bit more to be desired in these matchups versus Kansas City, which is a more coach team with more continuity, a quarterback equally great, and a defense that's just way more sustainably awesome. I always said in the regular season, this is a great defense to the Bills, but they're a paper tiger. And these big moments in these big games, you kind of can't really trust them to make that big play. And I don't know, I felt the fake punt with Damar Hamlin on your own 30-yard line was insane. And that was the turning point of this game. The Chiefs had 10 guys in the field, but the risk in that situation was far greater than the reward to me. And even though they're only down by 3 points and they got the touchback because of McCole Hardman giving them a second fumble, that to me is when Kansas City took control of all the momentum. And it felt like Buffalo was not going to kind of get that juice back to make a heroic fourth quarter comeback or victory, I should say.
I don't think Sean McDermott gets fired. What he did with this team down the stretch is respect worthy. I mean, this team had a ton of injuries on defense. They had some great defensive performances down the stretch. Even in this football game, I mean, listen, let's just be clear about something. When you're facing elite level quarterbacks, your defense is going to get scored on. You're not going to lock up quarterbacks. And a lot on both sides, a lot of the great game plans by Steve Spagnuolo were just better heroics by Josh Allen converting on third and long situations. It's like, okay, that's the right play call. It's tight coverage. That's just a throw that only Josh Allen and maybe 2 other quarterbacks can make. And same thing with Mahomes doing it on the other end. But the Bills defense did give the Bills the ball on one final drive. Josh Allen, him fumbling, even though the Bills recovered, that was not on his supporting cast. Let's just make that clear. Josh Allen taking the risk to go deep on a dig for a touchdown to put the Bills up instead of seeing Stephon Diggs, that was a him decision. And I don't think that was a bad throw. I think Chris Jones just got into him. And, Chris Jones knocked him off his platform and threw the ball off. But it felt a lot like the Josh Allen to Gabe Davis missed touchdown. And this is just the truth about the Bills. The Bills can come close, but it's never enough. And this goes back to before the Josh Allen era. This goes back to the current Josh Allen era, where they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game with 13 seconds left. The Chiefs were able to get a field goal and score and then go into overtime and then win the game. And the same thing can be said in this matchup when the Chiefs made timely plays. The Bills did not. And I think that's on everybody. But I want to say this, man. I know the disrespect y'all had on Patrick Mahomes. Dehls, I heard your analysis before coming to the game. The team might be a little overrated. Riv, you was hating on the Chiefs last week. You picked the Dolphins against the Chiefs. Drew, you're a Broncos fan. I understand. But I just want to rattle off what this man has accomplished.
Oh, my God.
Because he is the best quarterback to ever play in the NFL. Most playoff wins by a quarterback before turning 30 years old. Patrick Mahomes has 30. Tom Brady had 12. Joe Flacco had 10. Troy Aikman had 10. Ben Roethlisberger had 10. Mahomes is only 28 years old, and he has the most playoff wins of any quarterback before turning 30. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, most touchdown quarterback to receiver touchdown passes in NFL history with 16. That's over Brady and Gronk. Patrick Mahomes, 6 years as a starter, 6 trips to the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes is 8-2 in the playoffs, went down 7+ points. His 2 losses against the GOAT, Tom Brady. I'm tired of the disrespect. Dehls, you disrespected the Chiefs when you picked the Bills to win this game. Riv, I heard you in the season say the Browns were going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Drew, you said the Dolphins would beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. You were calling the Chiefs fraudulent all year long. And I told y'all, don't worry about the offense. Don't worry about Mahomes, because when Mahomes gets into the playoffs, he's the best quarterback to ever play. #1 in passer rating. I'm tired of the disrespect. And I know you guys are going to try to not give Mahomes a chance against the Ravens. It's going to be a tough matchup. Much respect to Baltimore. But please, put some respect on the Chiefs.
Yo, bro, did you see how the Bills was able to run the ball on the Chiefs? Do you know what Baltimore is going to do to them?
It's going to be a good game. I
Wait
can't
and
see.
see.
Casey's got a shot. I don't know. Did I ever say like Casey's going to go in there, get blown out by 30?
Nobody
Like
said
I was
that.
picking
Everybody said
Buffalo.
it
I
was
was
gonna be a
confident in
close game.
Buffalo.
Oh,
But
when you picked Buffalo, you said the Chiefs, they feel a little overrated to me.
You would
They're
think
not overrated now, Dehls. They're
They
not
did.
overrated now. They're not
they did feel a
overrated
little
now.
overrated.
You would
Me
think.
getting a shot in your little monologue right there was a little bit much. That being said,
You've been calling
I
them
do
frauds all year long.
I do
Drew.
think some of the things, no, for sure. I definitely, which I will always be every single year. I will definitely be against the Chiefs. But that being said, I did think that your analysis on them, Joel, was a little bit much. I understand that the Dolphins win, excuse me, may have looked a little bit ugly, but it was the coldest game. One of the coldest games, the 4th coldest game in NFL history. We saw Patrick Mahomes, even in those conditions, still play at a super high level. They weren't converting in the red zone, which was obviously a huge knock on them because we've been concerned about their offense. But we just unfortunately know the truth. In these moments, there's no quarterback that reaches the heights that Mahomes has reached so far. So I say to overrate the Chiefs, I think you mostly meant their offense, which I get and fine. I've been saying that all season long. But with the way that they just worked Miami, made it look like they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs at all. And with the way that Buffalo looked against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know. That was what led me to this direction of thinking that the Chiefs ultimately would win, just for the fact of, even like you said, and I don't disagree, and it's very reminiscent of that Eagles game in the Super Bowl last season where it just seemed like the Eagles were a little bit more methodical with their drives. They controlled time of possession, but every time Mahomes had the ball, he was efficient. He was getting in the end zone. Similarly, like today, where they just got the ball and they were able to move down the field effectively, get points on the board, and toss the ball over to their defense. Difference is now their defense is elite, and it's very good. And even though today we saw Josh Allen, we saw James Cook look very good. I'll throw Dalton Kincaid in this mix as well. Shakir had himself a solid ball game. You're going up against an elite offense in the Buffalo Bills, but Kansas City Chiefs, unfortunately, so long as they have that guy 15, you give him a chance.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny because, and Joel, you mentioned it. I don't think, like, Chris Jones did push. I forgot who it was. I think that was Dawkins, but he did push
The left side
alignment.
was Spencer Brown. If it's the
Spencer,
left
yeah. So
side.
he did push him into Allen, but I didn't think that was a bad. Like, Shakir was open in the back of the end zone. You know, if he didn't push him, that probably is a TD. And regardless of him missing out on the underneath drills, which people keep harping on, that's why they lost the game. They still had an opportunity to tie the game, and Tyler Bass missed a fucking field goal. And Drew, you mentioned it. Like, Diggs, you're a superstar. Dehls, you said the same thing. You're a high quality player. I thought the pass to Sherfield was better than the one to Diggs. It was right in the bucket. Like, it was right in the bucket, and he just couldn't get it in. It was like so many opportunities that this team as a collective, you know, just like Joel mentioned, they couldn't make plays. The big time plays are the important plays. You know, you felt like they was gonna win. You felt like it, but towards the 4th quarter, you were kind of like, this isn't gonna last, and then they couldn't just make clutch opportunities.
You're right. It was Deion Dawkins. But that's what I mean. With the Bills, I feel like they're always so close and they can never get it done when it matters. They might have beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but when it matters, they're not able to beat them. And this is the weakest Chiefs team of the last 6 seasons, at least from an offensive standpoint. And I told you guys before the playoffs started that the Chiefs' recipe to making a deep playoff run is running the football. They got it, and Mahomes just has to play efficiently. And you see, Andy Reid has really leaned into that. So I think the Baltimore matchup will be interesting. I think you were on my show, John, when we talked about how I'm not giving up on the Chiefs because Mahomes, I don't think is playing that well. And once Mahomes starts playing well, I think this offense will be taken up to another level because all year long, they were an above average offense with Mahomes, I don't think, playing his best. So if he plays at his best, this offense could shoot up to top 5 just because of what he brings.
And the unsung hero today is our guy, Isaiah Pacheco. 111 yards and 16 touches. He runs like you can make a lot of pretty good comparisons, but he runs like a hammer. And in order for this Chiefs offense to be, sustainably good, like 25 points a game.
Run, John.
What? You know what I meant.
Dude runs fast. He runs fast. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Agreed.
He runs like a hammer. Like you don't want to get in his way.
You said it again. Oh, that's funny.
But I mean, with those short strides, he's going to be the difference maker in their offense. Rashee Rice had a quiet game, but those two guys are going to be what uplifts this entire unit versus the Ravens. When you look at Baltimore's running backs, the Chiefs have an advantage there. And with Mark Andrews coming off injury, you could say the Chiefs had the advantage as well in the entire weapons department. So we could say it's the weakest Chiefs team they have yet, but I really don't think so. With their defense, especially their secondary, the cornerback room is far and away the best left. And you look at the offensive line, they didn't have their best game today versus Buffalo, but I feel like this Chiefs team has been the same as it's been as good as always. It's just a completely different way that they want to win games, much more like Brady and Belichick in the second stage, the later half of their tenure together. It's not pretty, but it's just as effective. And I want to read off this because I think the disappearing acts by Stephon Diggs, they can be summarized by his production. Last 5 playoff games for Stephon Diggs, 3 catches for 7 yards versus the Chiefs in 2021. 7 catches for 114 yards last year in the wild card versus the Dolphins. 4 catches for 35 yards in their loss last year versus the Bengals, AFK. And then versus the Steelers last week, 7 catches, 52 yards. Today, in their loss versus the Chiefs elimination game, 3 catches for 21 yards. Josh did miss him on that one and breaking route, which could have been an easy first down to like the 10-yard line. But, I mean, that was one of the most looked like a 75-yard throw in the air, and that would have probably put them in position to win this game.
Yeah.
So he only kills bums.
John, they said this is your second strike of the weekend, John.
But Josh Allen made 2.
The weekend's nuts. It's been 2 days.
It has been. Last night you made a crazy comment too.
Oh yeah, you did with the killing.
He's dead.
He got killed.
He said he got killed.
That statement's one of those when you're hanging out with your boys. Yo, he got killed. Oh my god, but I knew what he meant. He got
I knew what he meant too. Josh Allen. There was
camera.
2 throws though. The one to Trent Sherfield, which Sherfield should have caught.
That was crazy.
And then the one to Stephon Diggs. I mean, Josh Allen was phenomenal, and I think in every single one of these matchups, he's played his part. It's just his teammates around him really have not helped him out. Justin Reed, he's a hard hitter. He's a hard hitter, man. Like that guy was all over the field today, and their defense, like you mentioned, John. Yeah. I mean, that hit was hard. I thought it was illegal at first, but then I watched the replay and I'm like, oh no, that was just a hit. And I heard it. You heard it when you watch back the game as well. The defense is just so elite. Like you mentioned, John, the secondary is one of the best in the league. And against the Ravens, it's going to be a hard rushing offense to stop, but that secondary is going to be up to the task for whatever wide receiver is lined up across.
Joel, you better. I don't know where you're going to go this week. Just stay on your side, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Stay on
your side when it comes to the playoffs next week. That's all. Just stay on your side.
Listen, this is a difference between you and I and also you and Drew. This week, Drew knew that the Chiefs were going to win. He ain't go with emotional route. He ain't go with that route.
I picked the Bucs over the Eagles. I don't go emotion either.
Okay, you're right. But I feel like in this instance, maybe you might have really thought the Bills were going to win. I'll get at you. But Drew learned from his mistake from the first round in the Dolphins and the Chiefs matchup. He said, you know what? I hate the Chiefs, but I got to go with the Chiefs. I will make the most unbiased decision possible because I'm the most unbiased analyst in the world. So whatever my heart and mind is telling me to do,
week. I don't want to give what you've said about Lamar through the years. I don't want to be on your side next week.
How
It's
about what
gonna
I
be
said?
tough to see that.
How about what I said about Lamar before the season started? Dehls, remind me.
No,
Come
you,
on,
you
Lamar.
have spoken,
No
you have spoken
arm,
nicely of him
Lamar.
this season,
on,
but the history is
Lamar.
nasty. The
Remind,
history is
remind
disgusting.
me what I said about him in the offseason. Just repeat it for me, Dehls. Don't lie on my
you,
name now.
You were high on Lamar,
Oh,
but
whoa,
throughout
whoa.
the years, you've been a little down on him. That's
Throughout
fair
the
to say.
years, this is 2023.
Throughout
What
the
was
years.
my analysis? What was my takeaway? What was my thoughts on him coming into
You
2023?
thought he'd have a good year.
MVP.
Did I not say I think he can have an MVP like year?
You said that about a lot of people.
Whoa,
What I say
whoa.
that about Dehls?
First of
A
all,
lot of quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks.
Get
outta
have
here,
been saying
Dehls.
that.
That was
Dehls?
Riv's
At least
MVP pick.
Yeah.
It was
Give
W pick.
me the credit. Don't
Any
give him
chance
the
of
credit.
Jalen Hurts?
No, the fuck I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You don't remember
You
the
did-
segment?
you
Make
did
your
have it.
case
Hurts
for this
MVP.
MVP.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. Fuck. Damn.
Jalen
Don't
Hurts
lie
was
on my name,
balling,
Mr.
to be
Dehls.
fair.
I'm gonna say this. That was easily top 3 most glazing moment of pick aside. What you just did just now, rattling off his accomplishments, that was insane, bro.
Last time I did it, I got placed on a Mahomes edit by the Chiefs.
Bro, we don't need to hear that shit. Man.
I'm,
We know
I'm
what this man
trying
has done.
2 for 2. But listen, it's because sometimes y'all gotta hear that. Y'all gotta respect Mahomes.
No,
We respect
I feel like
Mahomes.
y'all
I
don't
want to hear
respect
that.
him enough.
You
I
were
live
Joel,
in
you were the
nightmare.
one. Joel,
I
you were
live
the
in
one
nightmare.
who 2 weeks ago we weren't recording, so it's not even on air. But 2 weeks ago, you did your top 10 quarterback list. Who was playing the best this season? You had Jordan Love over Mahomes.
No, I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? I had Mahomes at
Drew.
number 2.
He's
What are you talking about?
cooking.
I had
No, he did
Lamar.
have
Wow.
Mahomes. No,
That's
no. He had Lamar 1 and he had Mahomes 2.
Don't lie on my name.
I thought he
Dehls.
had Jordan Love. My bad.
No, because I remember Drew asking, why do you have Lamar over Mahomes? And I said, because Lamar has been better this year. But it depends on the playoffs. And now they're
my
matching
fault,
up.
bro.
The only
fault.
quarterback that can catch up to Mahomes' current legacy in a short amount of time is Lamar Jackson. That's the only guy close. From the resume standpoint, Lamar's
He needs
the
to get-
only
he needs to get
quarterback
his chip.
close.
He needs
That's
to get
why
at least
when-
one of them.
Streets need it.
That's why when it comes to the Joe Burrow and Lamar thing, I don't engage with you Dehls no more. Listen, Lamar, 2-time MVP. He got it right now. I gotta wait till what Joe Burrow
You don't
says
got no
next year.
Jamar
Dick's
Chase
stock
either.
better. That's crazy.
But next year, watch Joe Burrow.
He don't got no T. Higgins. Forget about Jamar Chase. He don't got no T.
Jeez,
Higgins.
Bro, just got to top the board this year.
You know the Super Bowl gonna be in Louisiana next year, right?
Ooh,
You know where
that's
Joe Burrow played college, right? He had a historic season.
fun.
there.
Oregon was it?
Mm.
Oh, word.
Louisiana, Dehls.
Word.
Louisiana Dehls. Now the Bills lost 24-27. We'll probably talk about them on a later episode more in depth on what they should do. But the first game was the Lions and the Bucs. The Lions beat the Bucs 31-23. Masterclass between two former number 1 overall picks. Didn't end the best for Baker Mayfield, but I do want to say that the first interception wasn't his fault. I thought Mike Evans should have caught it. So really, Baker Mayfield had a pretty great day outside of the very last drive where he threw an interception, and Jared Goff was money all day. I think these are 2 quarterbacks that have thrived in a new situation after being thrown away by their former franchises. But Drew, I'll let you go first and talk about the Lions win and what this means.
No. Dehls is the new Lions guy. Dehls can go first.
Oh,
I
my
respect you, Drew.
Lions.
I'm trying to respect you, Drew. Dehls was the one that said, hold on. Before you go, Drew, Dehls was the one, and Riv was the one that was laughing at us for thinking that the Lions could make a deep playoff run early in the year.
You flipped on that too. What do you mean us?
Yeah, the top 5 team. They took him out of your top 10 for the Broncos.
I did. I'll tell you what.
I
the playoffs
consistently had in
team-
my top 10 every week. They never fell in my top 10.
You
Well,
said no
saying that
way.
is
You
hilarious.
said no way they're being the Eagles. I remember you specifically saying no way they
Well,
beat the Eagles. I remember somebody dumb saying that.
No,
I
I said they
that.
couldn't go into Philly or into San Francisco and win. So far, I'm right. They've been at home, 2 home wins. I give that to them.
We said that like week 11, bro. Shit's died since then.
But you know what? You know what kills me is people. Well, Riv specifically trying to shit on me for taking the Rams over the Lions. First off, you took the Rams also. 2, the Rams were the hottest offense in the league going up against a bad secondary. I went with the odds of Matthew Stafford, who's been in the playoffs and been awesome. My logic was there. That being said, in terms of supporting Detroit, I definitely fell off. I'm not here to say anything other than I am supporting Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's my guy, top 10 wide receiver. Just make sure you put some respect on the sun god. That's what I'm here wearing this jersey for. I am happy for Detroit. You make it to the NFC Championship game. You do it in a fashion where you beat the quarterback that was your franchise quarterback for years. You do that winning your first playoff game in 32 years. And then on top of it, now you play a pretty great game of football that we watched earlier today, where it was a little bit more of a defensive battle than I anticipated coming in. But in the second half, obviously, we started to see a little bit more points. The one thing I'll say on the opposite side, I think the Buccaneers should have ran the football a little bit more with Rashad White. They had a lot of success with him on the ground, 9 carries, if I'm not mistaken, for 61 yards or 51 yards, for 55 yards, excuse me, right in the middle of that. I think that he was
6.1.
very efficient on the ground. When they got him the ball in the air, he was able to get into the end zone. I think that on the ground, he was dominating a way that we haven't seen a running back dominate that defensive line for the Lions in some time. Look at last week, Kyron Williams. He, in his limited opportunity, was pretty efficient, but it took him some time to get going. I look at him and I understand that it was a 2-score game in that fourth quarter, but early on, get him going, 9 carries on the ground. I think that was a little bit ill-advised. But Baker Mayfield played himself a solid football game. It's unfortunate that his season had to end the way that it did, because it was the season of redemption for him. 9th in yards, 7th in touchdowns. He had himself an unbelievable season. I think that he will get a long-term extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans had that drop early on, but he redeems himself more than 147 and a touchdown. But for the Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra does it again. And that rush attack with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, another one, get him involved more, please. Montgomery is good. Jahmyr Gibbs is better. It's not even close. You just watch the two of them, and he's just so much more explosive with the ball in his hands. I respect the change of pace. You've done it all season. It's worked out for you. I'm not a coach but it's just the difference in skill sometimes is so noticeable. Jahmyr Gibbs is a special talent in his own right. It just seemed like anytime he touched the ball, it was a touchdown waiting to happen. But also some flowers to Jared Goff, who looked a little bit shaky early on in this game. Cooled down, was able to deliver some nice throws, get into the end zone, of course. The game-sealing touchdown to Amon-Ra was a dime piece that, of course, Amon-Ra was able to bring in, which is never in doubt. Saw a drop from Amon-Ra. That was shocking to me today, but, of course, you know that he was going to be for sure the rest of the game. Solid performance all around from the Detroit Lions. A great season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going to be very, very interesting. A long, long week of thinking and looking at the film and putting my analysis to understand who I believe will win that San Fran versus Detroit game. It'll be a good one. I don't think it'll be this blowout. I think it'll be a great game, but credit to the Detroit Lions, an unbelievable season that keeps on going.
Absolutely. Shout out to my Detroit Lions, man. 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Can't believe we
Shout out
made
to my
it
brother
this far.
Grapples.
Shout out to Grapples,
you,
of course. Shout out to Grapples. It's hard to look at this Lions team and just not think about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell coming in. You know, they completely changed the entire landscape of this team, the culture, the organization. To move on from Matt Stafford, who was the franchise quarterback, one of the best players in Lions history, and this is how you bounce back and respond, is one of the most impressive rebuilds we've seen from a team in a long time. Brad Holmes takes over in 2021, drafts Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown in round 4. The next season, he drafts Aiden Hutchinson. And this last year was one of the better draft classes we've seen in years and years. Like that rivals the Jets one from last season, where you get Jahmyr Gibbs, who people hated on that pick because it's a running back, but he has shown to be probably the second most important offensive player on this team skill position-wise. Sam Laporta, who just had a historical rookie season for a tight end, and Brian Branch, who's already one of the best safeties, one of the best DBs, period, in the NFL. They got 3 game changers in one draft class. And Jack Campbell's solid too. And of course you have Jameson Williams in there, we'll see how he ends up.
Hey, Mo!
But this team is fantastic. You know, I think it starts from top down, hiring those guys. Dan Campbell, the gritty attitude, another guy who got made fun of in his presser for saying we're going to bite at the kneecaps, and the scrappy type guy who felt more like a meathead than a smart analytical or football mind. He's got a really solid combination of both. And the fact that they go out and they revitalize Jared Goff's career, and now we're looking at 2 years later where Matthew Stafford gets his ring, and now Jared Goff is 1 game away from getting back to the Super Bowl. It looks like a win-win for both sides. So I'm so happy for Detroit, who obviously hasn't seen success in a really long time. I'm hoping one day my Jets can get the same luck and the same bright minds and head coach and GM and hit on quarterbacks and offensive linemen. We're going to see a beautiful offense one day, because the way this Lions offense is moving, the fact that they could run the ball and pass the ball, play action off of their elite run game, you have a perfect thunder and lightning pairing in the backfield. They could go up to San Francisco and give them the hard time. I think San Francisco is going to be favored probably by 6 or 7 points. I think they deserve to be favored. They've shown that throughout the regular season. But this Lions team is for real. They're not going into that game as, or shouldn't be perceived as, huge underdogs. This is a really good team who can do multiple things on offense. Defensively, the secondary does worry you. But we've seen that run defense outside of this game, because the Bucs did have some success on the ground. But throughout the season, the Lions have been really good limiting running back. So if they're able to take the ground game away from San Francisco, or at least limit it, and force Brock Purdy to beat you, which he had a great game last week, is he able to do it again? Detroit should feel good about their chances next week.
I guess
Next.
Come
Yeah,
on,
right.
just anyone.
All right. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. That was fucking weird. I thought one of you were gonna go. But shout out to the Detroit Lions. Definitely. First of all, great game. Great game. I like what I've seen from Baker Mayfield. I feel like the run game was working, and I do agree with you, Drew. But I felt like they were going to Mike Evans a little bit too late in the game. I felt like they could have utilized him more in the first half. He had a mismatch with Sutton a lot of the times. He did drop a few early, but once he started to get in his groove, you can see there was really nobody in the Lions secondary that can cover him. I like the fact that Detroit, the way they pressure the quarterback and the way they stop the runs is they use their secondary too in the same process with Brian Branch, with the safeties. And I love the fact that they're so quick and agile off the line that they're able to get to the quarterback or get to the running backs fast enough. So the versatility on their defense is really good. And then, offensively, they got Amon-Ra. They got Josh Reynolds, who's been really good for them this year. Jamo, he made some plays this game, too, also with the two running backs that give you two different dynamics. Dehls, you mentioned it. They're pretty much almost a complete offense, because if you get a clean pocket for Jared Goff, he can make damn near any throw on the field. And then at the same time, you have receivers that can hit the short, the intermediate. You have the running backs that can break out for 15 to 20 yards. And then this Tampa Bay defense, defensively, they did as much as they could. Offensively, they were able to keep grooving. That one play at the end where Baker made a mistake, I think people could forget that, because he had himself a great season, great game. He's going to get paid this offseason. The only thing with me with the Lions is I'm a little nervous for their defense going up against the Niners offense, because of the fact Green Bay, I think, matched up a little bit better. I think the secondary is going to have some worries. If Debo's healthy, then they got Ayuk, they got George Kittle. That's going to be a struggle for them. And then they're going to have to worry about the run game too. But other than that, I think they definitely got a little bit underrated in this matchup, and they're going to get a little bit underrated in that matchup against the Niners. They can definitely make that a competition.
the biggest thing to me with this Lions team right now is Jared Goff and Ben Johnson together are making this one of the most consistently good offenses we've seen in the passing game all week long, last 2 weeks, last 4, 5, 6 from the end of the regular season. They've always been one step ahead of opposing defenses. Today, a great example is Brock Wright on third down. Now, he made Ryan Neal, he broke his kneecaps, it felt like, which was crazy for a backup tight end that runs like a 5.40. But this Lions offense is just a step ahead of every secondary. And the evolution, I feel like, of Jahmyr Gibbs as the years went on is they're going to work him in slowly like an Aaron Jones. And I feel like in this San Francisco game coming up, we're going to see a big explosive game from him. We've been waiting for it all year long. We've seen it in moments when Demont was out. Today, he had 10 carries, which was more than Jahmyr, but Gibbs averaged, it was 6.5, 7 yards a carry. And when looking at the weapon group and the coaching on the offense side and how consistently on time Goff has been, the tight window throws in the red zone, the consistency in the pocket, and then, of course, how good Penei Sewell and the entire offensive line's been, Frank Ragnow in the red zone. This is a Lions team that can beat the 49ers next week. And their secondary at the safety position has been spectacular. The quarterback is the one real deficiency to me because the running game has been spectacular. A guy who's underrated is Aleem McNeil. And with Hutchinson, I feel like they are just one number one corner away from being like a 2.5 to 3 point underdog versus the 49ers, where you can match up against a Debo and a Brandon Ayuk. But if that's their number one weakness, I could easily see this offense going to San Francisco next week and putting up 28 points. They put up 31 today. And with Ben Johnson, this is their window right now. This is the year for them to win a Super Bowl. And I think they've got more than a puncher's chance next week.
I think they got more than a puncher's chance too. All the weaknesses that the 49ers have that I thought Green Bay can exploit, the Lions can exploit as well. The Lions can run the ball better, I think. And I think their defensive line, they got bodies. I mean, where Aiden Hutchinson lines up is across Cole McKivitz. And that's an extreme mismatch there. And then you have the interior defensive linemen in Ali McNeil and Isaiah Bugs that are really going to, make running lanes more narrow. It's going to be hard to run through those gaps in those zones. So I think they do have a chance, but you mentioned the biggest weakness with them. It's the cornerback position. The 49ers are one of those teams that they're going to do play action a lot. That's something that the Lions aren't great at covering. And one-on-one with Ayuk and Sutton or Veldelor, I think is the other cornerback's name. I mean, it's not going to end well. And if Debo is back and he's healthy for this matchup, I just think the Niners just have more things they can do offensively that can throw off what the Lions do bad defensively. But I do think they got a great chance. Jared Goff has matured as a quarterback. He's always been an elite quarterback when he's able to throw from a platform in the pocket when he's been clean. It's just with the Rams, he was one of the worst bottom quarterbacks against pressure. Now he's kind of brought that up to where he's not a disaster under pressure. He's manageable. So with the elite production he gives you from the pocket and now just being average under pressure, that's something that works to his advantage and why he's gotten so much better. I do think the Lions got a chance. And in this game, it kind of just showcased what having an explosive option does for your offense. You don't always have to have a player that is at the top of his position. Last year when the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill, they got MVS, just a player that can fulfill a role deep. I think that's Jamison Williams. Now with him extending the field, I mean, defenders have to be wary of him. So I think that's really expanded their offense because you always have to respect his speed, and that opens up things underneath. But I think the Lions, I mean, as a Jets fan, I know a thing or two about going to championship games. I've been to it twice. AFC Championship, 2009 and 2010.
He's cool.
I know a thing or two
so
about
long.
those games.
Does
He
he
knows
still
a thing or
know?
two, though.
remember.
He's not
I
saying he knows a
remember.
lot. He knows a thing or two.
And I'm saying
Been
to
a
all the
while,
Lions
man.
fans out there, make sure you cherish this moment because with cursed franchises, sometimes it doesn't happen for another 10 years. So make sure you cherish that you're here in the NFC Championship game because, I mean, this has been an incredible turnaround.
Absolutely.
Listen, I just like to change the tune. Yesterday, it seemed as if not a chance. Niners going up against the Bucs, Lions. Doesn't matter. Move on.
He
to
did
the
say
next
that
game.
yesterday.
That's the only reason I like to change the tune. Because you know what? You're
I
right.
think the Niners
Sometimes you
should
get
win.
new evidence. You get new evidence and it allows you to adjust. They showed some strong things today. They looked extremely effective with their offense, of course, on both the pass and rush offense, which we were expecting. But on the defensive side of the ball, they did a decent job early on in this game. Really, 17 points up until that last drive where they were up 2. Offense could have put this game away. Didn't. Defense had to get a stop. They go and they intercept Baker Mayfield to put this one away. A lot of perseverance. Shout out to Michigan alum, of course, Aiden Hutchinson. He's going out there and showing why he was the number 2 pick
Ronnie
overall and
Belcher.
why the Jaguars should have took him number 1 overall. 8 sacks in 4 games. He's in a different mode right now. That boy is nasty, and one of the key reasons why Detroit has a chance to go to the bowl.
So I got a question for you guys, and then we could wrap this up. If the Lions beat the 49ers, what will be the biggest reason why?
To be honest with you,
Jahmyr Gibbs.
I think it will be Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think that they can really beat up that clock, beat up that interior of that defensive line, and really try and chew that clock so we take the ball, so they keep the ball away from the Niners. That's the way that they can win, and I think that that'll be the big reason why.
Dehls.
I want one of these guys to go.
All he wants someone to say is it because Brock Purdy blew it.
I'm considering that, but I'm thinking of other options in my head.
No, I'm just asking that because I mean you're mentioning the offensive side of where the Lions can be successful. I think that's clear. But the Lions defense has to stop the Niners offense. And all I'm saying is if Brock Purdy plays an excellent game, the Lions are going to get routed. That's all I'm going to say. They're going to lose by more than a touchdown if Brock Purdy has a great game.
You think so?
Yes. If Brock Purdy has a great game, absolutely.
The Lions can't keep up?
They can definitely keep up.
Nope. I think the 49ers get more defensive stops on the Lions, and they can, I don't really think the Lions can come away with like 2 or 3 straight 3-and-outs. I'll be honest with you. Or punts based on what I've seen from this defense. CJ Gardner-Johnson has improved this defense a lot. which is why I was considering taking them against the Rams because CJ really made a big difference, and he's shown these last 2 weeks. But I mean, what's the elephant in the room? I mean, if the Niners play bad, the quarterback is usually going to be the one that isn't going to have the best of games. And I mentioned this because last night the conversation was that Brock Purdy has conquered his demons of coming from behind late in games and winning. But if they lose against the Lions, I'm not saying he's replaced because he's too cheap to replace. He's making less than $1 million a year. But if they lose, we know what the biggest reason why is going to be.
You know what, Joel? Maybe
You're
I need to
saying the
start
better version
watching.
of Jimmy
Maybe
G.
I need to start watching the full show of the Joel Moran show because you know me, I'm a big fan of watching your TikTok. It's one of my favorite things to do. And it sounded like you were kind of on the side of Brock Purdy answered some naysayers and showed that he can do what people were saying that he can't. So maybe I need to watch the full clip just to get full context.
The context of the clip is that the 49ers can now trust Brock Purdy a little bit more because he did have a fourth quarter comeback. That's not me. I'm saying that now gives the 49ers a little bit more trust in Brock Purdy. That does not make him this quarterback that they're just going to pay blindly. That does not mean that all the questions have been answered because for a large part of the Packers game, for 3 quarters, he was awful. He got away with a lot of interceptions that should have been easy catches. We know that. Up until that last drive, it was very shaky, which made for the perfect Brock Purdy agenda game. Because if you were defending him, the last drive gave you justification. If you weren't that high on him, the rest of the game gave you justification. But really, if the Lions do win this game, it's because he doesn't have a good game. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's the correct take.
But Purdy didn't have that good of a game versus the Packers.
He just didn't have a good game against the Packers.
And they won.
And they won the game. That's literally wrong. That's not true at all.
Barely won.
They won. What do you mean?
They should have never won.
Joel, that's the only thing I'm gonna say.
And
Like,
I
we're
think-
spot on.
Drew,
I think a team with more experience puts the Niners away. You know, Aaron Jones, that run, not getting a field goal or a touchdown
Let's shit
there
on
is
Jordan Love. Let's do it.
the reason
Let's
why
shit on
the
Jordan
Packers
Love.
didn't win. I look at the Lions today. When they went up on the Buccaneers at one point, I think it was 17-10 or 24-17, one of those. The Bucs had a chance. I mean, the Lions had a chance to put the game away. If they went on the touchdown drive, they had a chance to put the icing on the cake, and they did just that. Because the Lions are a much mature team, I have more faith that if they are in a similar situation, they will ice it.
But you said the Packers match up better with the Niners than the Lions or Bucs.
They do because the Packers got better defensive secondary players. I don't trust Cam Son. I don't trust the second corner. CJ and Brian Branch are awesome. And I think the Packers' defensive line is better as well. I think their interior is better. Aiden Hutchinson is the best edge rusher there. He's been playing like it. But I think the Packers have better defensive personnel. The only reason why they're not a top 10 defense consistently is because of Joe Barry. It's really because of him. And then offensively, I mean, Matt LaFleur, Ben Johnson, it's pretty similar there. But you ask me who has a better running game, it's the Lions. You ask me, I mean, I was expecting Jordan Love to come through in the big-time moment. He didn't play well in the last 2 drives. Jared Goff and Ben Johnson, I think, will be more prepared. And like I said, I think they are more of a mature team that can put a team away once they smell blood.
But you know what, Joel? Sorry, I was going to talk about the Lions. If the Lions do go to San Francisco and win next week, it's going to be because they're playing with nothing to lose. They're going to go for on 4th down. They're going to take gambles. And their offense, it doesn't have the same
do that anyway.
I know, but that is the right type of team you want when you're a heavy underdog. The one who's going to go out swinging and not the one who's going to go out scared, throwing short of the sticks with the season on the line. This Lion team does not give a shit who is favored. They're going to come in with the right type of mindset because Ben Johnson, number 1, is going to come up with creative designs. But almost as notably, their head coach and Dan Campbell is going to have these guys fired up to play. They're going to keep everything from them defensively. And look, I saw Cam Sutton for years. I know Brandon Ayuk's having a big-time day. With Aiden Hutchinson lined up everywhere and their defensive line, I think people are underrating this team right now. I mean, the offense is amazing, and they have a better offensive line than the Niners. Jared Goff is on the same exact level, if not better than Brock Purdy to me, and he's just played better the last 2 months. And with their run game, it's not CMC good, but it has that upside to be awesome as well. And so if they're going to win next week, it's going to be, it sounds very corny, it's going to be because this team lays it all on the line. They're going to take every single shot. and they're not going to play with their tail in between their legs.
They just got more heart, basically. They got more heart than the Niners.
My,
Listen,
my question is
to
simple.
be fair, the Lions I did not think looked great for a majority of this game against the Bucs, and they end up scoring 31 points.
Yep, for sure.
It did have a chance at the end. Baker Mayfield had an opportunity to go down the field, score a potential game-winning touchdown. Fortunately, he threw an interception. But the Lions room for error because they could run the ball so well, and off of that, use play action to get chunk plays. If they're able just to keep this thing close, which I think they will be able to, like I really don't think I'm looking at the 7 points. The line did drop 7-point over or spread on this game. I think this is going to be a 1 touchdown game. I understand if Brock Purdy has a bad game narrative to it, but the Niners showed last week that they could kind of get around the bad game for Brock Purdy. Did it cost a couple of interceptions? Is that what they needed for it to be a competitive game? Yeah, but they could get a couple of interceptions against this Detroit team.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Purdy has a great game, I don't think this is close.
Wait, can I ask a question? Because if the Lions win this game, y'all don't think it's going to be because of the defense as opposed to Purdy?
What combination of the two?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if the defense is playing well, that means Purdy's playing. He's not playing that well.
It's hard to play good defense, and then Purdy is just going to beat you with stuff.
Like, because if it becomes a shootout, then it's primarily going to be on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
About getting just a stop.
My question is simple. My question is, I hear a lot of people saying that Brock Purdy answered the questions from last game. I thought it was a step in the right direction. I don't think the question has been fully answered. And if he loses in the NFC Championship game, the question becomes very real.
Yeah, I think it's the end of a chapter for Brock Purdy. The losing from behind or coming back from behind, game-winning drive is the end of the chapter. Book still got to be written. Like I said last week, Colin Kaepernick won playoff games. That didn't keep Colin Kaepernick around for a decade. You know, I mean, there was other things to be fair, but Brock Purdy, just because you win this one playoff game, have a game-winning drive, that's great. We need to see you do it again and again because the San Francisco team, it's too talented. Kyle Shanahan is too good to just waste years with a, average or so quarterback talent-wise.
Bust.
I said this last night, and I'm gonna repeat it again. I feel like he's put to bed the conversation just for the week, just until the next game he plays. But I personally trust. I don't trust Jared Goff on the road more than I trust Brock Purdy at home.
I think that's fair.
That
I think that's 100%
so that I don't. That's not where I'm going with that. I trust. If that's the answer to the question, I trust.
Gotta hope it doesn't rain. If it rains, all bets are off.
All bets are off. Even then, I still it's still. I don't know if it's raining for both quarterbacks.
The rain was a huge issue. The rain damn near lost you that game last week.
The forecast is saying 68 degrees sunny.
It's raining for both quarterbacks. It's raining for both quarterbacks. I don't know how Jared Goff is going to look outside in the rain. You know what I'm saying? So, I trust Brock Purdy at home more than I trust Jared Goff on the road. Personally.
I think the conversation could be as simple as taking a look at that Super Bowl logo, unfortunately, and just thinking, hey, it's not blue. It's red. Niners are taking this one, sadly.
Is that your pick, Mr. Drew?
No. I'm just doing it for conversation purposes. Still don't know.
The conspiracy is growing. It's definitely growing. So next year, those colors better be green.
They better just be not black and white. Just make it black and white. Don't make it anything crazy. Because, geez, three.
Okay. Got a white uniform.
I was gonna say Raiders, right? I guess. How many teams wear black?
You know who else is red on the other side too, right?
Who that?
The Chiefs. But there's nobody that's purple on the other side.
There's nobody purple. The only purple is the Ravens.
Minnesota.
Only if the Vikings made it.
Minnesota.
Chiefs, Vikings. That was in a nice Super Bowl. With Kirk.
Who? Okay, I was going to say.
With Kirk, not Nick Mullins. Kirk Cousins was
I'll be honest, bro. Kansas City could take a couple years off of this. Let the Ravens get one. Let the Jets get one. Know what I mean? Then it can come back around.
What are we doing here?
There's some allegations for Jared Goff being a dome merchant. This is a homecoming for him going back to the Bay. If Jared Goff goes into San Francisco and the Lions upset the Niners and go to the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff wins the Super Bowl this year, what would that do for his legacy in the NFL? What would that do for his standing right now?
It's the best comeback story, arguably, in NFL history.
Maybe. He's probably a Hall of Famer.
I'm gonna tell you,
wrote him off and he didn't write back.
If the Lions go to the Super Bowl and they play Baltimore, Baltimore is going to beat them so bad again, it's not going to be funny.
Tough.
So you're just disregarding the Chiefs. You don't think the Chiefs will beat them or no?
Oh no, if the Chiefs go, they'll beat. But I don't have the Chiefs going, so why would I say it?
Okay.
I'm telling you that early. I have Baltimore winning. I'm gonna pick
Ravens
against the Chiefs
scary.
every week.
Ravens are scary. There's no team that wants to face the
As a
Ravens.
matter of fact, if the Chiefs go to the bowl and they play the Lions, I'm gonna pick the Lions. Just
So
'cause.
Sam from the Light Years podcast goes, let me know your guys' shirt size. I'm gonna get each one of you a Brock jersey on the house.
Holy medium.
I'll
Need
tell you
it.
what, I'd love a Brock jersey. I'll give it right
Medium.
to mom.
I need that.
Mom would love that Brock jersey.
I'm good personally. I
of
don't
course
need
you
it.
are.
I don't need it.
I'll have matching jerseys with mom. I'll take Joel's.
Yeah. Get two for Drew. And do you want one, John?
Shit, yeah, I'd
I don't know.
appreciate
This
it.
guy just said that Jared Goff's better than Brock Purdy.
I said
I
he's
don't
just
think
as
that's a hot
good, if
take.
not better, which is very fair given Jared Goff's long resume.
As the
going
Brock
to Super
Purdy
Bowl.
guy, Jared Goff is better.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's respect to Goff. He's
Jesus.
better. He's better than Dak. He's done more than Dak, but
He's what?
he's better than Dak Prescott.
Who?
There's a Jared Goff.
You're.
Yes.
I don't know about that one.
I've watched Dak in the playoffs. I've watched Jared in the playoffs.
You're not really. You're a Steelers fan. You don't have any quarterback real
Gotta
thought.
go
Chris,
with the
they were saying in the
playoffs.
chat
Gotta
before
go.
we've got 20 teams. None of them are playing this weekend. But
I don't
anyway,
have 20 teams in the
you've
NFL.
got
Why do
20
they keep
between the
saying
two
that?
leagues, man. But
Damn.
there's a stat.
You're a
Goff-
front runner too, John.
I've got one team.
No,
I've
you
got one
don't.
team. Yes, I do. It's the Steelers, and that's it. That's
Then
the
it's
only team I
Denver.
know.
Then it's
football.
Phoenix.
I have
Then it's
favorite
Dallas.
players.
Oh,
We
then
want-
it's
I
Memphis.
don't have. I've never had a basketball team. Steelers and
You're
that's
a
it.
liar.
No, the
That's the
basketball
strangest
team
thing
needs
known
to
to man.
stop, John. It needs to stop.
I've never
He's
had
sick.
a team, champ. Never.
Were you
had,
not
never
celebrating
will.
when the Nuggets won the chip?
Yeah, because my favorite player won a championship, and everyone was shooting.
Okay, so why can't you just
He
be a
was also
Nuggets
on the
fan then?
Memphis
That one's
bandwagon.
Jared
No one's
Goff.
gonna stop you.
Jared just became the 5th quarterback of the century to take 2 separate teams in the NFC Championship game, or a championship game. That list is Brady,
Brett Favre?
Manning, Favre, Kurt Warner, and him. But I think he's done more than Dak Prescott when it matters. You know, Prescott's been a slightly better regular season quarterback, but to watch him, I hate to say it, shit the bed in the playoffs routinely year in, year out, at home especially, I've got to give the credit to Jared. He has done more, and quite frankly, he's meant more to his franchises. With Dak, I can't say, oh yeah, he's a better quarterback after watching that Packer game. Hell no.
Wait, question because
John medium cooked. He
no wait.
medium
And
cooked.
this is my question because I'm
definitely
not too. I don't remember it too much. Was Todd Gurley not the best player on those Rams teams?
He
Obviously.
was injured,
Well,
sadly.
that's
He was
amazing.
definitely the best player.
Without a doubt.
But
We
Goff
saw-
was also great.
Was
He
Goff
was.
cooking in the playoffs? I'm asking. That's why I don't remember. Was Goff
not in the
cooking in
Super
those
Bowl.
games?
I mean, they put up 3 points versus that Patriots defense.
Yeah, no, the Super Bowl he
before
definitely
then.
didn't cook.
The Super
I
Bowl,
just-
Todd
Before
Gurley
then,
barely
they were
played.
great.
If not, I don't know if he played at all.
He did, but he was like on one leg, and Belichick
Yeah.
took him out of the game. The same thing to Marshall Falk back in the 2000 Super Bowl. I forget the exact year, where they isolated Gurley, who wasn't healthy, and the Rams offense couldn't even get to Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. But with the way that Goff has played and the value that he's meant to this Lions team, you can put him up there.
Okay, so I have Jared Goff's playoff game
So do I.
log
These
stats.
shits are not that great.
Yeah, so his first game against the Falcons, his first playoff appearance versus the Falcons, they lost 13-26. He completed 53% of his passes, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, a 77.9 passer rating. His second game, they beat Dallas 30-22. He completed 53% of his passes, 186 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 74.4 passer rating. His second, his third playoff game versus the Saints, which was the illegal contact game that the Rams should have never won. He completed 62% of his passes, 297 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 83 passer rating. So he played decent in that game. And then the Super Bowl versus the Patriots, they lost 3-13. He completed 50% of his passes for 229 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 57.9 passer rating. So with the Rams, he was not a good quarterback. And then he had 2 more playoff games.
Lions are changing his
But he was
legacy,
hurting.
John. Hold on to
Because,
the
well, he was
to the
hurt in that
line.
2020 playoff run.
Okay, yeah, but his
Now we go to this year's playoff run, Joel. How about
Okay,
now?
I know, but like his playoff stats, they moved off of Goff for a reason. The Rams did.
Yo,
I
bro,
just
he
wanna-
really
Matthew
lied.
Stafford.
We were
No,
gonna let
but
him
his
lie.
playoff stats. Listen, John, let me help you out here. All right, just let me help you. He's talking solely about his playoff stats with the Lions. It's
It's been
better
one
than
game.
almost anything
2.
Dak Prescott's done. Right?
Oh yeah, 2. Pardon me.
Two
I'm
elite
talking about
games,
what he's
to be
doing right
fair.
now.
Two elite games.
Two
hold
elite
on.
games.
Here's why I got confused because I'm looking at these shits. In 2018, he had 55% completion rate. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions in 3 games. That was in 2018. This man lied and said he's shown more than Dak. I don't know if that's true. I
John,
don't
Well, the
know.
do yourself
numbers
a
will
favor,
tell
talk
you
about
You
Dak
that.
could
is
make
the
the argument
top
that these 2
quarterback.
games is better than Dak's best 2 games.
There it is.
At
Correct.
the end of the day,
Well, Dak
numbers,
versus Tampa was pretty phenomenal.
numbers
He
year.
was.
without
Yeah.
the
He was.
context will tell you that Dak's been a better playoff quarterback when half of the time Dak's playing from to a lead, specifically in this most recent game. Last 2 playoff games for Jared Goff, he has been amazing, going toe-to-toe with Matthew Stafford. Last week, he completed 82% of his passes, and though he only had 1 touchdown, when watching the game, he was surgical all game long and in total control. And you've seldomly seen that from Dak. And the one time you had against the Buccaneers, he was under 0 pressure, they had no pass rushers, and no explosiveness.
That was a
And the level
washed
of
Bucs
difficulty
team.
in that game wasn't really that high versus an 8-win Bucs team. And this year,
This
I'm saying
Rams
that
team was
Jared Goff,
better.
yeah, without a doubt. But I'm just in a vacuum. What Jared Goff has done so far, it doesn't say a whole lot. It's more impressive than what Dak's done in the playoffs.
I mean, context would tell you that, Jared Goff, he wasn't the main operator in the Rams offense. It was Todd Gurley. And then when he went down, the offense fell off a cliff. So I will say, I don't think it's crazy to say Goff is over Dak, but I will say this. Dak's playoff stinkers have come against the 49ers and the Packers, just recently. So if Jared Goff lays an egg against the Niners, it's not much different than Dak not performing against the Niners. So in order for your take to have more validity or just be a better argument,
Right.
Goff has to play really well against the Niners.
Absolutely.
Or well, he doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Just better than Dak.
Can't
Dak
have a
was
stinker.
awful. Yeah, Dak was
Without
awful
doubt.
against
Well,
the
Dak's
49ers.
never made it to an NFC championship game, unfortunately.
Which is a bit team oriented, but you're right.
Yeah, it is team oriented.
It's
They're
team
going to.
oriented, but he had control of it.
Eamon
Good call,
Thompson
Dad.
in his
And the
first
Niners
career
year.
start. Oh my
Both
God.
of those years, actually, because last year versus the Niners, he unfortunately was not that good.
Did you see this
Came in an
number?
L. Came in an L.
15 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. Oh my God, we're so here. Start that, brother. The L's gonna come, bro. It's all right. It's part of life.
All right, so that's gonna do it for Pick a Side instant reaction, reacting to the Lions, Bucs, and then the Chiefs and Bills game. We will see you guys later on this week, recording our newest episode of the podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.